Hello, hello. We are live. Welcome to Eat Like a Vegan Chef livecast. In today's livecast, I have Brianne Showman, he, who is a running and obstacle course racing coach. And I think you're going to be in for a treat today. Brianna is working with runners primarily, and she's focusing on breaking runners out of their injury cycle. With that said, she loves to talk to people to help them not get injured and, um, you know, create more fun during their training. So let me introduce you, Brianne Showman. Welcome, Brianna.
Thank you, Frank. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Great to have you here today. So basically, Brianna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what your profession is, and where you're focusing on?
Absolutely. So, I am a physical therapist by trade. I word it that way because I got sick of our reactive sick care system that just kind of puts people back together but doesn't really solve any problems. So, I broke out of that traditional model and went to more of a proactive coaching role, meaning I still do work with injured people, but rather than just addressing whatever injury is there, I go above and beyond. I go past that to really figure out why that injury is there in the first place and addressing that root cause. So ultimately, the ultimate goal is people become more resilient, aren't getting injured all the time, and can, essentially live and train pain free.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, okay, great. By the end of this uh, interview, we're going to have a Q&A. That's where our, you know, listeners can ask you any questions. Also, everyone who is joining right now, um, feel free to post your questions already. I will check on them and make sure that I post them here and there, so you will see them while we talk. Okay. I would say I I will give the word to you, and um, you can take it from there.
Cool. What I wanted to dive into today is more on the like pre-working out side of things. So for anyone who wants to maybe start working out or ramp up what you're already doing, not really sure how to go about it in a safe manner, in a manner that's not going to get you injured, put you into much pain, that sort of thing. So that's what I really want to dive into today. So first and foremost, well, I shouldn't say that. These are in no numbered order. I'm just going to put them in whatever order I want. Um, but I want to talk about strength first. And I'm not talking about needing to go to the gym, lift big weights, get really muscular, get that muscular appearance necessarily. While that's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm not saying anything against that. Um, it's not, when I'm talking about strength, I'm not talking about being that like overly strong person. I'm talking about strength that is appropriate for your activity or for what you want to do. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, if someone wants to, I'm going to use examples of runners since that's primarily what I work with. When I talk to someone they want to start running, it's necessary to look at like how is single leg balance? How is single leg control? Can someone stand on one leg without falling over? Do they have the strength and stability to maintain that position for a decent period of time? Ultimately, running is all a single leg task. You're on one leg at any period of time. So if you don't have good control on a single leg, that puts us at risk of injury. Along with that, when we run, we do when as we absorb that shock, we're almost doing like a single leg squat, a partial single leg squat every single time. So if we don't have good leg strength in like for like a partial single leg squat, for any of these like things that stabilize our hip, then our bodies are going to break down over time. And it may not be something that you break down in a month. It could be something you're going to break down in 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on what you're doing and how your body's holding up. But ultimately, every sport you want to get involved in, any activity you want to do, you really want to make sure you have the strength appropriate for that. Say you want to do tennis, like, how is your shoulder strength and stability? Is it something you've worked on? Is it something you've thought about? With tennis, it's a lot of arm movements. We're also doing some running. We're doing some cutting. So there's a lot of things that need to be going on. If we're not prepared for that, if we haven't trained our bodies to hold up to that, we can cause injuries over time. So strength is a big aspect when we're talking about return or beginning an activity or returning to an activity post-injury. Along with that, mobility is a big factor as well. Now, I do want to clarify, when I'm talking mobility, I'm not talking needing to stretch all the time. I can tell you right now, I don't stretch a ton. I rarely get injured. I do, and what I have my clients do is mobility work, helping the joints move better, helping the muscles learn how to control those joints through those motions, and being able to be nice and strong, nice and stable, and all those sorts of things in all the necessary positions that you're moving in. Now, when it comes to mobility, once again, it depends on the activity you're doing, on what mobility you need. With that said, the 3 areas that are tightest in most people are the upper back. We like to stay in this very slouch, rounded shoulder posture because of everything we do on a day-to-day basis. So the upper back doesn't like to extend very well. So upper back mobility, hip mobility, because a lot of us are in one position for a long period of time, whether you are sitting a lot of the day or you're standing a lot of the day. Standing is always going to be better than sitting. But if you're in one position for long periods of time, over time, the joints get stiff, the muscles and everything around the joints get stiff, things get nice and tight, they don't move as well. So the hips are another area that tighten up in a lot of people and that we want to make sure move well. And the other one that tends to get pretty tight, and I think a lot of this is just because we don't challenge this motion a lot with most things that we do on a day-to-day basis, is the ankle. Specifically, that ankle, what we call dorsiflexion, which is it's going to be like those toes coming up. So if you think you're that foot on the ground and you're trying to pull those toes up, that motion tends to be limited in a lot of people, partially because of the shoes we wear, partially because of when we're sitting. A lot of times we're sitting and our feet are pointed a little bit. We don't realize it, but they are. So over time, we get tight and stiff in our ankles. So put tight upper back, tight and stiff upper back, hips and ankles all together, and it can cause a downward spiral when we're doing things such as squatting down for something, kneeling, lunging, even reaching up overhead if we don't have good motion in our hips, in our ankles, in our shoulders, upper back. That can cause problems as well. So we want to make sure we have good strength, but we also want to make sure we have good mobility with all of that as well. A big component to what I do personally and with my clients, and also I am a barefoot training specialist. So with everybody, I'm going to look from the ground up, essentially looking at the foot and seeing what it does. Your foot is your foundation, meaning if your foundation is weak, your body's going to be weak. Think about the foundation of a building. If you have a building with a nice solid foundation, that building's strong, it stands for a really long time without getting cracks in it. If you put a building on a weak foundation, try to build a nice solid building on sand, it's not going to work the greatest. It's going to crumble pretty darn quick, develop cracks. It's going to do something where it's not going to be a sound structure anymore. The body is the same way. If we stand on our feet, the foot is the foundation of your body, or the feet are the foundation of your body. If that foot is weak, if it collapses, the arch collapses every time you step, that sort of thing, that's all transferred up the chain. So our body, no, we don't develop cracks like a building does, But our cracks are called injuries. So over time, if that foot is weak, if we don't have good control over it, if we don't actually know how to use that foot like it was meant to be used, then over time our bodies will get injured. Once again, it's not a matter of if your body gets injured, it's going to be a matter of when. Most people I work with tend to have pretty weak feet because shoes naturally shut the feet down. We don't necessarily train feet all the time, if ever. So it's something that a lot of people don't think about, don't work on, and can cause a lot of issues. So foot is another huge thing, especially for me with what I do with my people, to address, to make sure we don't have a lot of injuries. And then the other thing I want to talk about is just a proper ramp up. A lot of times, and I see this a lot with people who have been working out, maybe they got injured, took time off, whatever, life happens, and then get back to activity, is too much too soon. They ramp up too fast. So it's like I'll see someone who maybe has never run or hasn't run in a year, 2 years, and they'll just go out and go 2 miles. It may be a run walk, but they'll just go out and go 2 miles without making sure the body was actually ready for that. And this can happen with any activity, any sport, that we just, it's a new activity. It's fun. It's exciting. We want to go participate. But if we do too much, too fast, too soon, we're going to set ourselves up for failure. So I'm not saying like you have to go super slow with things, but ramping up properly, making sure the strength is there, making sure the mobility is there. And then maybe you first day of whatever activity you're going to do 15, 20 minutes, see how your body feels. The next day, if your body feels awesome, cool. Let's go 10, 15 minutes longer. And just slowly start ramping up based on how your body feels. The more you just kind of dive all in, go spend 2 to 3 hours doing whatever activity, the more likely you're going to set yourself up for failure, or with injuries, overtraining, all those sorts of things. So being smart about it on that ramp up can be super, super beneficial in order to keep you healthy and injury free. So that is what I got for you. And what questions do we have?
Okay. You know what? I have a question. In the house, I usually wear slippers because sometimes I think, okay, it's softer. But then I think to myself, is this the way to go? Because according to the holistic way of living, it's better to walk barefoot. Can you tell us a little bit more about walking barefoot in the house? Is this good for you? Is this not good for you? Or
Yeah, ideally barefoot because it essentially lets the foot act like a foot. It lets all the muscles react. It lets you get onto that toe better and that sort of thing. With that said, like in the winter, cold tile floors, things like that, like I'll wear socks this time of year because my floors are cold and my feet
Mhm.
get cold. During the summer, I'm pretty much barefoot all the time. Slippers, it kind of just depends on what type they are and how stiff they are. Because like moccasins, things like that are usually pretty
Soft? No, they're soft,
soft,
pliable.
very pliable. Things like that would be okay.
Okay.
If you have a slipper that's more of like a really firm bottom, because I've seen those before too, those are going to act more like a shoe and not give you as much movement as what we want.
Okay. Um, I I like to jog, and sorry I asked all the questions, but to the audience, please post your questions, and I will take them one by one. When I like to jog, and I bought myself some nice Nike shoes, and I actually got how much? Maybe a minute faster a mile easily. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. And they said that those sneakers are spoilers. They're really cheaters, so to speak. They give marathon runners and all the other 10K runners a huge advantage over other people. Is that true? And what is it a negative on your foot?
There is, now that you mentioned Nike, I'm forgetting the name of it, but yes, there is a Nike shoe that came out within the past couple of years that a lot of the racers are using for on race day, for that purpose because they do make you faster. It's one of those things for race day, wearing those types of shoes isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think back to granted, I was wearing traditional shoes at the time, but thinking back to my cross country and track days, we ran in our trainers, we raced in spikes. So I kind of view it as the same way of um, like wearing some of those shoes that help improve performance, like thinking of shoes as tools for your sport. Like I don't have a problem with that. But if you were doing like using those types of shoes every single day, so your foot can't really work like a foot, that's when we need to figure out like what can we change to help your body be more resilient, but also let you perform better.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So let's see. Diane is asking, can you suggest a beginner or running program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have one that I use with my clients. It is a little less aggressive than what you see a lot of times with a run walk program, but with like when we're starting to run, I always suggest a run walk to make sure the body's adapting properly, also doing some strength work with that. I will always have someone test out like starting with a minute run, 3-minute walk. Like just to get your body used to moving again, and usually having people do up to 6 cycles of that. Once we're comfortable there, then we can start increasing that time and slowly increase the run time, slowly decrease the walk time, and kind of make this smooth transition in this process. But really, like, I don't like telling people like do 1 mile of a run walk or do 2 miles, just because that distance could be a little aggressive if we're learning to run. So that's why at least up to like a 5-minute, until someone can run like 5 minutes straight, I have them stay at this, like just this run walk type protocol.
Okay, great. Okay. Jackie is asking, where is Brianna located and what services does she offer?
Yeah, Jackie, awesome. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona area, Gilbert specifically. But as far as services, I work almost 95% virtually. The only people I see in person tend to be from my gym. So most of the work I do is virtual. I do like running analyses, movement analyses. I do full on coaching for people. So it just kind of depends what you're looking for. But I do a lot of virtual work for helping people move better, all the way from helping people move better to like improving performance for more of the high level athletes.
Nice, great. Cindy is asking, same question about feet. I just hurt myself exercising today. Not sure what the question is, but Cindy, can you elaborate a little bit on that question? Thanks. I'm going to. For seniors, is it a good idea to use hand weights and hand weights while brisk walking? Good question.
Yeah, great question. While we see it often, it's not honestly a bad idea. I don't know if it really gives a whole lot of benefit though either. Like, yes, it does help strengthen the arms a little bit, but depending on how heavy they are, how long you're going, it may cause a little more fatigue in the shoulders than what they can really tolerate, because that is a lot of weight, over a period of time. It's a lot of force. So it kind of depends on the distance you're going and the weight of the amount of weight you're using for those weights on whether, it's appropriate or not.
Okay. Jackie's asking, is there an app for that 3 minutes walk and 1 minute run?
There actually is. It's one I've created. Well, it's one I had created, I should say. I am not a tech person, but I had someone else create it for me. I can, I'm spacing on the actual website. I have to pull it up here for me. But I can send you in the comments, I can leave the actual like link for that, because I do have an app for it.
Cool. Nice, nice. Yeah. Whenever you have a minute, you can put it in the comment or send it to me. It's up
I
to
might have
you.
to put it in the private chat because I don't think I have access to the comments for some reason.
No, you do. You should.
Okay.
If you click on comments, you should see it says all on the bottom and then post a comment. You don't see it?
No,
Hmm.
I'm not sure why.
That's strange. Not sure. I don't know. Okay, so you know what? If you want to put it in the
Put it in the private chat for you.
you see you put it in the private chat. Okay, let me copy it from here and I put it into the comments.
Yeah, and there's actually 4 different programs on there, but the return to running one is on there as well.
Okay, this is the app from Brianna. Okay, good. Okay, how slowly should an older person push themselves after a long pandemic period of relative low physical activity?
Awesome. Great question, Ellen. So it, it's all there's a lot. Everything's an it depends answer in my world, but so it does kind of depend on what the activity level was prior to how long of during the pandemic were you low activity, if it's been 2 years versus if it's been like 6 months. um Ultimately, like, I usually say, to get back to activity, just like go get yourself moving for, I don't know what you're doing before, but get yourself moving for, say, 30 minutes, whether it's just a brisk walk, whether it's a run walk, whether it's tennis that whatever sport you used to play, but at least to get yourself moving, doing some body weight movements, just to kind of see how your body responds to that. And then from there, you can start ramping up more intensity, more resistance, that sort of thing. But I'd say in the beginning, just keep it body weight, keep it maybe like it's a rate of perceived exertion scale 0 to 10. Like 10 is you're all out, like 100% effort. I'd say like keep it at maybe like a 5 to 6 out of 10 effort in the beginning and just see how your body responds to that. And then decide how to increase that intensity from there.
Okay. And Cindy was referring to strengthen your feet. Her earlier question.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
She, how to get out of injury and how to
Try to strengthen
strengthen
up.
your feet.
Yes. So the 2 things I start everybody on, regardless of from there, there's always a progression. But the 2 things I always give people is the first one's called short foot. So what you're going to do, you're going to do the standing up. We want to think of our foot as a tripod. So, excuse me. Um, if this was your foot, think of your heel just behind your big toe and just behind your little toe are the 3 points of the tripod. Just like a tripod of a camera, you want like equal weight on those 3 points. So first and foremost, on your feet, you're going to find that tripod of your heel right behind your big toe, right behind your little toe. Try to get equal weight on those points. And then from that position, you're gently going to push your toes down into the floor. You're not going to curl them. You're going to keep them straight and push them straight down. And what we're doing is activating all those muscles on the bottom of the foot to get them starting to kick in. So that's short foot. That's the first one I do with people, typically like 5-second holds, 10 times, 2 to 4 times a day. The other one is starting to teach your toes how to work like toes. Ultimately, anatomy of our hands and our feet are almost identical, meaning if we actually trained our feet to do it, the toes should be able to move like the fingers do. Unfortunately, we are stuck in little socks from their toddler age, covered with shoes. So pretty much from age of like 1, we stop using our feet. So we're going to start working those toes again. What you're going to do on that tripod of your foot, you're going to try to raise just your big toe up off the floor while keeping all of your smaller toes down. You're going to see how well that works. From then you're going to relax. From there, you're going to lift all your toes up. You're going to take just your big toe down while keeping all of your smaller ones up. And once again, keep that tripod. In this position, people tend to want to roll to the inside of their foot, bringing their outside of their foot off the ground. So make sure we're keeping that foot flat as the big toe is down and the smaller toes are up. So that's step 2. Step 3 is all your toes are up. And then we're going to do what I call piano toes, where you're going to set your toes down like one at a time. So we start with all the toes up, then we put the little toe down, second, middle, all the way down to that big toe. We're going to try to do them individually.
I'm doing this right now. It's difficult.
It is difficult. It is difficult.
Because I lift up my heel when I do this. This is really,
So those are the 2 I always start people on, just because they're things that everyone should be able to do, but usually has difficulty with. And then from there, there's different progressions based on how a person's function is. But short foot and then those toe dexterity ones.
Wow, that's a great exercise. Thank you so much for that. This is
Yeah,
really
you're welcome.
great. Okay, Barbara has plantar fasciitis and knees. I have been told to wear supportive shoes and inserts all the time. If I want to go bare feet and strengthen my foot, can you do that right away?
Awesome, Barbara. I'm glad you're at least looking into this, because so many people just are like, they said to wear orthotics or supportive shoes. I'm wearing those all the time. I don't care. You can start working to go barefoot. Especially if your feet are used to being in supportive shoes, I always suggest like a weaning process. Similar to like if someone's like been wearing a back brace following a surgery, it's like we don't just take it off one day and all of a sudden things are great. It's like, let's go for a couple hours out of the brace and then we'll put it back on. I usually suggest the same thing with supportive shoes, orthotics, and getting out of those, is make it a weaning process. Do some foot strengthening exercises and start being out of your supportive shoes, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours a day. Put them back on, see how your body responds. If it does really well, cool. Next day, do like 3 hours and slowly increase that time. But typically, if you go like cold turkey from supportive shoes to barefoot, or supportive shoes and orthotics to barefoot, the body's not going to be real happy with you because those feet don't actually know how to support your body. So make sure you do some foot strengthening as you slowly wean yourself out of those shoes.
Nice. Excellent. Good point. Good question, Barbara. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any other questions here? Please post them here. I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Okay, so I would say, Brianna, how can people get in touch with you? Actually, there's one more question.
I just thought.
Stretching your calves is also important in preventing plantar fasciitis. Okay.
It definitely can be. There's a lot of causes to plantar fasciitis. One of them definitely is tightness in those muscles there. So yeah, stretching the calves, depending on the cause of it, can definitely be beneficial for that.
Okay, Diane is asking if your app is available on the App Store.
It is not. It's not on any of the App Store or Google Play. It's specifically on that link because of how it was created.
Okay, good. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out my website, which is getyourfixpt.com. I have a ton of different information on there, education-wise. If you are a podcast person, I do have a podcast called Highly Functional. It is on all the major podcast platforms, so you can search any of those and find it. And then if you want to directly reach out to me, Facebook, I'm Brianne Showman. I'm pretty easy to find. Otherwise, you can email me at brianne@getyourfixpt.com.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, so after the show, We're going to post it on YouTube. I'm going to post all the links up there. So anyone who missed any of these informations, you can see them below the video on YouTube and reach out to Brianna this way. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, Brianna. There was some great information. I learned definitely a lot. And thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for
welcome. This
being
was
here.
fun. I was happy to come on here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I would say I'd see you around. Thank you so much for all your expertise and have a great day.
All right, you too, and you're welcome. And thank you everybody for the great questions. This is awesome.
Thank you. And okay, thank you so much, everyone who came to this live stream today. Um, as you know, we have live streams almost every 2 weeks now. Um, I will post them in the Facebook group. I will also email you whenever they coming up. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a great day. Be safe and think plant-based. And for those of you who are on YouTube, if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up button and follow my channel, that helped me grow my channel. Thank you so much. Have a great day.